So I want to spend a few minutes talking about that. It's been our big story. What's going to happen next in Iran? How do these comments change what might be happening next in Iran? I'm sitting next to Paul Rieckhoff, host of the Independent Americans podcast, who's here with me in New York. So quick reaction to that before we go back to hear the president. I'm sure take questions on this.
To the Iran part, not the milk.
Not necessarily the milk part, although I'm fine with whole milk.
Yeah, I mean, my kids aren't going to drink any of it unless it's got chocolate in it. But nevertheless, I mean, obviously the biggest story is Iran. And I think what he's saying doesn't check out with what we're seeing on the ground. I mean, it looks like people are being executed by the thousand. Reports are starting to come out. We know the lights are out, the internet is out. But this regime has been brutal, and it's killed people before, and they've said they're going to kill people again. So I think we need to get the reporting on the ground to find out what's really happening.
Well, he says he has it on good authority. So there's a possibility, right? I mean, we don't know. There's a possibility that the threat of action from the United States in Iran has changed the regime's approach here. I mean, I
think he'd like to think that, but I think what we're seeing from limited reporting and the news that's leaking out is that people are being slaughtered. There are snipers on rooftop. They're communicating they're going to do executions, and thousands of young people and people of all kinds are bravely standing up. This feels like a tipping point in Iran, and the best thing for Trump might be to just let it go and let it happen, and definitely not put American lives at risk. And if he does something, he should be consulting with Congress. He should be talking to the American people, laying out the costs and the strategy. This is another critical step he keeps skipping. If he's going to engage with Iran again, he has a responsibility to go to Congress, and Congress has a responsibility to flex their authority and ensure that he doesn't do it alone.
We'll go back to that earlier point that the best move here for Trump might be nothing, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like this has more momentum than any uprising we've seen in Iran. I mean, there are ways that they can help with intelligence. There are ways they can help on the ground to support the protesters. But him involving our military in some way or something along the likes of what we saw in Venezuela might make the situation worse and might undermine some of the validity of what these protests are doing. This is a democratic uprising. This is people fighting and dying for their freedom, and we should all be cheering for them right now. And if we can help them do it, but it might not be military solutions that do it.
Well, because the talk, as you know, throughout the week had been that if we could, maybe now's the opportunity, if they are weakening, if this protest is at a point where it is close to this tipping point you described, now's the chance to go in. That's the case from the more hawkish people in the Congress. I know, you know, in the Senate, like a Lindsey Graham has been saying things like this and probably would say it anyway, but that's what we're hearing more of, and you're saying, hold on a second here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Iranian people are doing it on their own, and I think the best kind of uprising is an organic one, is one that comes from the grassroots. It doesn't have an outside force putting their finger on the scale, and we've meddled in so many different uprisings before, but we do want to see the regime topple. I mean, this will put tremendous pressure on Russia. It'll put tremendous pressure on North Korea. This can create a groundswell that sweeps all across the world. And that's the potential here. But this is coming from the people. And I think that's important that Trump doesn't get involved and make it a Trump thing.
There was one guy in particular, a guy in his 20s, who was apparently part of the protests, and there had been reports in recent days that this person, and he was 26 years old, was going to be executed today. The president in a CBS interview was asked about that, said he didn't know about it, but if something happened, you know, they'd be held to pay, essentially. And now today comes out and says, no, there's no plans for that. So you do wonder what, you know, happened between then, which was last night, and now, this afternoon.
I mean, you can't trust the regime. I mean, any more than you can trust Putin or any other authoritarian. So if Trump's getting some back channel information from someone in Iran, he shouldn't trust it either. The reality is the regime has been brutal. They've murdered people. They've executed people. That has been their method for decades. And I think right now they know that they're teetering on the edge of disaster for themselves, and they're going to pull out every stop. They're going to kill people. They're going to put this down like they have in 2009 in the past and try to squash this before it gets any further.
All right, stand by for a moment, Paul. I want to bring General Richard Newton into this conversation, who had been set to join us in a few minutes anyway. So, General Newton, we were listening to the president at one of his daily events on an unrelated subject, milk, as the case would be, but he came out right at the beginning, and he says that the killing in Iran is stopping. He has that information, as he described it, on good authority, and there are no plans for executions. As Paul and I were talking about, you know, there have been these reports that, you know, this one person in particular would be executed as early as today. What do you take away from that in terms of, you know, again, he says he has it on good authority, but in terms of what it means now in the conversations we've been having about what might be next in Iran?
Well, let me backstop what Paul just said. I'm just coming into the conversation, but this is a brutal regime after 45 years plus of really tyranny against not only the Iranian people, but the largest export of terrorism that has really decimated also, you know, American soldiers' lives and so forth. And so I think it's still within U.S. national security interests to really take a hard look at where we are right now in 2026 and determine if it's within U.S. national security interests to not necessarily just strike back against Iranian capabilities like we did back in June 22nd, but are we really going to be now focused as a tipping point now for U.S. national security to conduct what would be leading up to a regime change in support of the opposition with thousands killed and imprisoned and so forth. Okay, I got that off my chest.
Yeah.
But we have to, trust the president to some point here. I'm sure he's getting the latest intelligence, not only from the United States, but partners in the region, specifically Israel, specifically Mossad, and is really trying to determine what is the situation in Iran. Is it indeed, what's the numbers of killings and so forth? The president, however, said yesterday on the flight line at Andrews Air Force Base that the number he's hearing, regardless of what media is coming forward, is too many. And so forth. And does that serve as really now the tipping point for U.S. to go beyond just, 25% tariffs and perhaps increase sanctions and other things that we could possibly do to really now go to, get into the target folders that U.S. Central Command has provided the president? That would really provide for, I think, making change, significant change in Iran. And by the way, that change, and I believe ending the regime of Iran at some point, would also be in the best interest of U.S. national security.
Okay, let me ask you this, General Newton. Paul's point earlier was that the protesters on their own, even with the help of the United States, might be able to make tremendous progress, maybe even lead to the regime change that you talked about in Iran. In terms of whether we should push them, don't you think that if President Trump made a point, again, at a completely unrelated event today, to start his comments with the fact that the killing is stopping and there are no plans for executions, that he does not have plans to get involved in terms of the military? Of course, he could be trying to throw people off, I suppose, as well. So what's your perspective on that?
Well, first, the public statements by the president, I think what he's probably trying to do here is trying to stave off as long as he possibly can, if there could be reached some type of solution short of kinetic strikes by the United States, that's all well and good. And I think that's an appropriate playbook for, the very short-term foreseeable future. However, back to what's happening in the streets of Iran, this is my opinion. I don't think it's going to be thousands and thousands of protesters that are really going to create what I've referred to as a tipping point to really create regime change and to have the Ayatollah and his henchmen step aside. I think however, on that note, I believe what's changed since December 28th, which was initially led by the middle class in terms of those protests, fast forward to today, what's changed is they're no longer looking for transformation or for perhaps the regime to change their ways. They're looking to topple the regime, and that's what's moved also. Second point, however, I don't think it's going to be, as I mentioned, the protesters alone. I think really what I'm looking for, and Paul, I love your comment on this, is really what's happening within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, what's happening with the IRGC,
right,
and also what's happening with the 2 to 3 million of militia, the Bunji, that are really the strong-arm pipe throwers, as we say in the streets, that have been suppressing for internal security of the regime for years within Iran. So I'm looking for those two key ingredients. And when that influence perhaps begins to separate itself from supporting the regime, the Ayatollah, and then maybe slightly switching over to the Iranian people, to me, that's going to be the tipping point. That's when the United States should act in support of.
Okay, Paul, I want you to pick up on that. So just for our viewers, the president's, this event is about whole milk and schools and what have you. But he started it, as I said to General Newton, with comments on Iran that we thought were very, very newsworthy, that the killing is stopping. He has it on good authority that there'd be no plans for executions as early as today, as had been reported. So pick up, Paul, on what the general was saying there.
I think there's a bigger context of all this. I mean, we are no longer trusted to lead the world, right? There was a time when America could really quarterback this, and we would have NATO by our side, and we'd have Israel locked up, and there'd be a united front against the regime in Iran. We don't have that right now.
Right.
So we've also moved assets away from places like the Middle East down to Venezuela. Carriers that might have been ready and staged off the Middle East are now in somewhere else. And there's also other factors that we can't control, like Israel. Israel may coordinate with us, but they don't have to anymore. And there's a number of folks in the world who might want to put their finger on the scale in support of regime change independent of the U.S. So there's a real defining moment for American leadership, and I think reflects also how we're not calling the shots as we once were years ago and in decades past.
Okay, I hope both of you have 4 minutes to stick around, because here's what I'd like to do, is I think the president's going to take questions on this. And I want to get a break in now and then come back with Paul and with General Newton to talk more about it. Again, Secretary